The morning sun over New York City disappeared behind a wall of black metal. 10,000 alien ships filled the sky like a dark cloud that stretched from horizon to horizon. Each ship was almost a mile long and shaped like a giant knife. Their black hulls glowed with strange blue light that made the air itself feel heavy and wrong. Admiral Jack Morrison stood in the Pentagon war room watching dozens of screens show the same impossible sight. The aliens had sent only one message before they arrived. It came through every radio, every television, every phone on Earth at the same time. The voice was cold and mechanical. "We are the Zephyrian Collective. Surrender your world. Resistance is pointless." The message repeated in every language humans knew. Then the ships came down through the clouds like falling mountains. Dr. Lisa Grant ran her hands through her hair as she stared at the computer readings. She was the smartest person on Earth when it came to studying alien life. But these readings made no sense. The ships used energy that human science said was impossible. They had power sources that looked like tiny black holes. Their weapons could turn entire cities into glass in seconds. "Sir, we're getting energy readings that are off the charts," she told Admiral Morrison. "These ships are powered by something we don't understand. Each one has more power than our entire electrical grid." Outside the Pentagon, people ran through the streets screaming. Cars crashed into each other as drivers looked up at the sky instead of the road. The alien ships hung in the air without making any sound. They just waited like giant metal vultures. Captain Ryan Hayes climbed into his fighter jet at Andrews Air Force Base. His squadron was the first to be ordered into the air. 24 of the best pilots in the world. They had trained for war against other humans, not against ships that could swallow aircraft carriers whole. "Remember, we're just trying to see what these things can do," Hayes told his pilots over the radio. "Stay together and don't do anything stupid." The fighter jets rose into the sky like tiny gnats flying toward elephants. The alien ships didn't move. They didn't react. They just hung there in the air like they were waiting for something. Hayes flew his jet closer to the nearest alien ship. The thing was so big he couldn't see the end of it. The metal hull was perfectly smooth except for strange symbols that glowed blue along its sides. He tried to radio back to base, but his equipment was acting strange. The alien ship was doing something to his electronics. "Base, this is Captain Hayes. The ship is interfering with our systems. Radio is breaking up. Instruments are going crazy." Then the alien ship opened fire. A beam of pure energy shot out from the ship's hull. It was bright white and made no sound. Hayes watched in horror as the beam cut through 3 of his jets like they were made of paper. The pilots didn't even have time to scream. Their planes just turned into metal dust that scattered in the wind. "All units, break formation. Get out of there." Hayes shouted into his radio, but it was too late. The alien ship fired again and again. Each beam found another jet. Hayes pulled his fighter into a dive and flew as fast as he could toward the ground. Behind him, the sky filled with more energy beams. His squadron was being destroyed. Only 6 jets made it back to base. Hayes climbed out of his fighter with shaking hands. His uniform was soaked with sweat. He had been in combat before. But this was different. This was not a fight between equals. This was like children trying to fight adults with machine guns. "What happened up there?" Admiral Morrison asked Hayes over the secure phone line. "Sir, we might as well have been throwing rocks at them," Hayes said. "Our weapons can't touch them. Their weapons can destroy us without even trying. We need to find another way." While Hayes was fighting in the sky, Dr. Grant was discovering something else that made her stomach turn cold. The alien ships were not just randomly placed around the Earth. They were positioned over every major city, every military base, every important piece of human technology. They had studied Earth before they came. They knew exactly where to hit to cause the most damage. President Helen Brooks sat in the White House Situation Room surrounded by her advisors. Everyone was talking at once, but she could see the fear in their eyes. The most powerful military on Earth had just been swatted aside like flies. "What are our options?" she asked. "Madam President, we have nuclear weapons," General Paul Davis said. "We could try to hit them with everything we have." "And if that doesn't work?" Then we're out of options. President Brooks looked at the screens showing the alien ships hanging. Over Washington, D.C., one of them was directly above the White House. She could see it through the window, like a metal mountain floating in the sky. "Get me a direct line to every leader on Earth," she said. "If we're going to fight these things, we need to work together." But even as she spoke, the alien ships began to move. They spread out across the globe like a disease. Each ship took position over a different target. The message was clear. Earth belonged to the Zephyrian Collective now. Dr. Grant watched the ships move on her computer screen. She noticed something strange. The ships moved in perfect formation, but they moved slowly, like they were being careful about something. "Admiral, I think they're having trouble with our magnetic field," she said. "Look at how they're moving. They're not flying straight. They're following the magnetic field lines." Admiral Morrison looked at the data. "What does that mean?" "It means maybe they're not as perfect as they want us to think." Outside, the alien ships settled into their positions around the globe. Earth was surrounded. The invasion had begun. But somewhere in the Pentagon, a few humans were already starting to think about how to fight back. The war for Earth was about to begin. 3 weeks after the alien ships arrived, the world looked like hell. The Zephyrians had turned major cities into smoking ruins. Their ground forces walked through the streets like metal giants. Each alien soldier stood 10 feet tall and wore armor that glowed with blue energy. Their weapons could turn a human into dust with one shot. Colonel Danny Fisher crouched behind a burned-out car in downtown Chicago. The city he had grown up in was now a wasteland of broken glass and twisted metal. Alien patrols marched down Michigan Avenue like they owned the place, which they did. "Move quietly," Fisher whispered to the group of survivors following him. "The aliens can hear a pin drop from a mile away." Behind him, Dr. Kevin Park clutched a laptop computer like it was his last hope. The physicist had been working on experimental rocket engines when the invasion started. Now he was just another refugee trying to stay alive. But his brain was still working on the problem of how to fight back. Maria Lopez crawled through the rubble next to Park. She had spent 15 years at NASA figuring out how to get rockets into space. Now she was trying to figure out how to get humans back from the edge of extinction. Her clothes were torn and dirty, but her eyes were still sharp and calculating. The group of 20 survivors made their way toward the entrance to the old subway tunnels. The aliens had destroyed most of the city above ground, but they seemed to ignore what was underground. Fisher hoped the tunnels would give them somewhere to hide and plan. Amy Chun held a radio close to her ear as they moved. She had been a communications expert before the invasion. Now she was trying to pick up signals from other survivor groups around the world. Most of what she heard was static and screaming, but sometimes she caught fragments of voices speaking in different languages, all saying the same thing. The aliens were everywhere, but humans were still fighting. The subway entrance was hidden behind a pile of concrete and steel. Fisher and his people squeezed through a narrow gap and disappeared into the darkness below. The tunnels smelled like smoke and fear, but they were quiet. The alien patrols had not come down here yet. Dr. Park set up his laptop in an abandoned subway car. The battery was almost dead, but he had enough power to run some calculations. What he found made his hands shake with excitement. "Danny, come look at this," Park called to Fisher. Fisher crawled over to where Park was working. The physicist pointed at numbers on his screen that meant nothing to Fisher. "The aliens are having problems," Park said. "Their ships are not flying the way they should. Look at this data I collected before we went underground. Their flight paths are not straight lines. They're following curves that match Earth's magnetic field." "What does that mean?" Fisher asked. "It means their technology is designed for their home planet, not ours. Earth's magnetic field is different from where they came from. It's interfering with their systems." Maria Lopez looked over Park's shoulder at the data. Her NASA training helped her understand what she was seeing. "Kevin is right. Look at these patterns. The ships are fighting against our magnetic field just to stay in the air. They're using extra power to compensate." Amy Chun suddenly held up her hand for silence. Her radio was crackling with a weak signal. She adjusted the frequency and a voice came through the static. "This is Professor Robert Kim broadcasting from Seoul. If anyone can hear this, we have discovered something important about the aliens." Chun quickly responded, "This is Chicago Survivor Group. We can hear you. What did you find?" "The aliens lose power during solar flares. When the sun sends out electromagnetic pulses, their ships flicker and their weapons stop working for a few seconds. We think their technology cannot handle electromagnetic interference." Park grabbed the radio from Chun. "Professor Kim, this is Dr. Kevin Park. We're seeing the same thing here. The aliens are vulnerable to Earth's magnetic field. Their ships are struggling to compensate for the interference." Over the next hour, Chun managed to contact survivor groups in London, Tokyo, Sydney, and Moscow. Everyone was reporting the same thing. The aliens were powerful, but they were not perfect. Their technology had a weakness that humans could exploit. General Paul Davis was hiding in a bunker deep under the Colorado mountains. He had been listening to the radio chatter between the survivor groups. His military mind was already working on how to turn this weakness into a weapon. Davis had access to files that most people did not know existed. Classified research about Earth's magnetic field and how it could be manipulated. The research had been theoretical before the invasion. Now it might be the key to saving humanity. He picked up his secure radio and contacted the survivor groups. "This is General Davis. I've been listening to your reports. You're right about the aliens having problems with our magnetic field. But I think we can do more than just exploit their weakness. I think we can turn our entire planet into a weapon." The survivors in the tunnels under Chicago listened as Davis explained his impossible plan. The Earth's magnetic field was generated by the planet's core. If they could manipulate that field, they could create electromagnetic pulses powerful enough to knock the alien ships out of the sky. "You're talking about using nuclear weapons," Fisher said into the radio. "That's insane." "No," Davis replied, "that's our only chance. The aliens think they're fighting primitive humans with primitive weapons. They don't expect us to weaponize the planet itself." Park was running calculations on his laptop. The numbers were staggering. They would need to detonate nuclear weapons at specific points around the globe. The explosions would have to be timed perfectly to create a cascading effect through Earth's magnetic field. "It could work," Park said quietly. "But we would be gambling with the entire planet. If we get the timing wrong, we could damage Earth's magnetic field permanently. Without that field, solar radiation would kill everything on the surface." Maria Lopez was looking at orbital mechanics on her own computer. "We would need to deliver the weapons to very specific locations. Most of them are behind enemy lines. It would be a suicide mission for whoever volunteers." Amy Chun was still monitoring radio signals from around the world. More survivor groups were checking in. Scientists in hiding were confirming what Park and the others had discovered. The aliens were vulnerable, but only if humans were willing to take the biggest risk in history. Fisher looked around at the faces of his people in the dim light of the subway tunnel. They were dirty and scared, but they were still fighting. "Still hoping, General Davis," Fisher said into the radio. "Tell U.S. what you need us to do." The plan that would either save humanity or destroy it was about to begin. Dr. Kevin Park stared at his computer screen in the dark subway tunnel. The numbers he was seeing made his heart race. He had been working for 3 days straight, calculating how to turn Earth's magnetic field into a weapon. What he discovered was both terrifying and amazing. "Danny, you need to see this," Park called to Colonel Fisher. Fisher crawled over to where Park was working. The physicist pointed at a map of the world on his screen. Red dots marked 12 locations around the globe. "These are the key points," Park explained. "If we detonate nuclear weapons at these exact spots, we can create a chain reaction through Earth's magnetic field. The explosions will send electromagnetic pulses through the planet's core and back out into space." "How powerful?" Fisher asked. "Powerful enough to fry every piece of alien technology within 1,000 miles of Earth. Their ships will fall out of the sky like rocks." Maria Lopez was studying the orbital calculations on her own computer. She shook her head as she looked at the numbers. Kevin, this is insane. We're talking about using our entire nuclear arsenal. If we miscalculate by even a few seconds, we could destroy our own magnetic field. Without that protection, solar radiation would kill everyone on the planet within months. Dr. Lisa Grant's voice crackled over the radio from her hiding place. In a bunker outside Washington, D.C., she had been listening to their conversation through Amy Chun's communications network. Maria is right, Grant said. The magnetic field protects us from cosmic radiation. If we damage it, we're trading a quick death from aliens for a slow death from radiation poisoning? Park looked at the faces of the survivors around him. They were all thinking the same thing. The plan was crazy. It might kill everyone on Earth, but the aliens were already killing everyone on Earth, just more slowly. We don't have a choice, Park said. The aliens are systematically destroying every major city. At this rate, there won't be anyone left to save in 6 months. General Paul Davis's voice came through the radio from his Colorado bunker. Dr. Park is right. We've lost 3 billion people in 3 weeks. The aliens are not taking prisoners. They're exterminating us like insects. Captain Julie Adams was hiding in a destroyed Air Force base in Nevada. She had been one of the few pilots to survive the early battles with the aliens. Her squadron had been wiped out, but she had managed to steal one of the alien fighters that had crashed nearby. General Davis, this is Captain Adams. I've been studying this alien ship I found. Their technology is incredible, but it's also fragile. When our magnetic field fluctuates, their systems go haywire. I think Dr. Park's plan could work. Captain Ryan Hayes was in a survivor camp in the Rocky Mountains. He had been working with a team of engineers to figure out how alien technology worked. His voice joined the radio conversation. Adams is right. We've seen alien ships lose power during thunderstorms. Their energy shields flicker when lightning strikes nearby. If we can create a planet-wide electromagnetic storm, we can take them all down at once. The plan was taking shape. 12 nuclear weapons would be detonated at specific points around the globe. The explosions would be timed to create a cascade effect through Earth's magnetic field. The resulting electromagnetic pulse would be powerful, enough to disable every alien ship in Earth's orbit. But there was a problem. The 12 target locations were all behind enemy lines. Teams of volunteers would have to fight their way through alien patrols to plant the nuclear devices. Most of them would not survive the mission. Sergeant Mike Torres was leading a group of soldiers in the ruins of Los Angeles. His voice came over the radio with grim determination. General, my team can handle the California target. We know the terrain and we have nothing left to lose. Lieutenant Kate Williams was hiding in the forests of Washington state. Her unit had been fighting a guerrilla war against alien patrols for weeks. Sir, we can take the Pacific Northwest target. We've been studying alien patrol patterns. We know when and where they move. One by one, volunteer teams from around the world checked in. Survivors in the Australian outback, soldiers hiding in the Amazon rainforest, resistance fighters in the mountains of Tibet. Each team volunteered to carry a nuclear weapon to one of the target locations. Dr. Grant's voice was worried as she listened to the volunteers. We're asking people to commit suicide for a plan that might not even work. Lisa, we're all going to die anyway, Fisher replied. At least this way, we have a chance to take the aliens down with us. Amy Chen was coordinating communications between all the survivor groups. Her radio equipment was patched together from salvaged parts, but it was working. She had established contact with teams on every continent. The timing has to be perfect, Chen warned. If even one team is late, the cascade effect won't work. All 12 weapons have to detonate within a 30-second window. Park was still running calculations. The mathematics were staggering. They were trying to turn an entire planet into a weapon using technology the aliens didn't understand. Earth's magnetic field was unique in the galaxy. No other species had ever tried to weaponize it. There's something else, Park said quietly. Once we do this, there's no going back. The electromagnetic pulse will destroy most of our own technology too. We'll be back to the Stone Age." Better the Stone Age than extinction," Davis replied over the radio. The volunteers began preparing for their missions. Nuclear weapons were secretly moved from hidden bunkers to staging areas around the world. The devices were old and heavy, but they were still functional. Each team would have to carry their weapon to the target location and set it off manually. Julie Adams was testing the alien fighter she had captured. The ship was badly damaged, but it still flew. She planned to use it to create a distraction, while the ground teams moved to their targets. "This alien ship responds to thought patterns," she reported. "I think I can fly it, but I don't know how long the systems will hold together." Ryan Hayes was working with his engineering team to modify human weapons with alien technology. They had figured out how to make human bullets penetrate alien armor. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. "We're not going down without a fight," Hayes said. "Even if this plan fails, we're going to make them pay for every human life they've taken." The countdown to the mission began. 12 teams with 12 nuclear weapons would try to save the world. The plan was insane, desperate, and impossible. But it was the only plan they had. Earth was about to become the first planet in galactic history to weaponize itself. The mission began at dawn. Captain Julie Adams climbed into the stolen alien fighter and fired up its strange engines. The ship hummed with power that felt alive under her hands. She had practiced flying it for 2 weeks, but she still didn't understand how it worked. The controls responded to her thoughts more than her touch. "All teams, this is Adams. Beginning distraction runs in 30 seconds. Around the world, 12 teams of volunteers were moving toward their targets. Each team carried a nuclear weapon and the desperate hope that their sacrifice would save humanity. The aliens had grown comfortable in their conquest of Earth. They were about to learn that humans were far from beaten. Sergeant Mike Torres crouched in the ruins of downtown Los Angeles with his team of 6 soldiers. The nuclear device was strapped to the back of Private Jenny Cook, the smallest member of their group. They had to reach the exact center of the city where the magnetic field lines converged. "Remember, we have exactly 30 minutes to get to the target zone," Torres whispered to his team. "The other sites start detonating whether we're ready or not." 2 miles away, an alien patrol was marching down what used to be Hollywood Boulevard. The 10-foot-tall creatures moved in perfect formation, their energy weapons sweeping back and forth. They had been hunting human survivors for weeks, but they had never faced organized resistance. Torres and his team moved through the rubble like ghosts. They had learned to avoid the alien sensors by staying close to electrical equipment. The magnetic interference made them harder to detect. It was a small advantage, but it was all they had. In the Amazon rainforest, Colonel Danny Fisher was fighting his way through dense jungle toward his target. His team of Brazilian soldiers had been moving for 3 days through terrain that would have killed most people. But the aliens were having trouble with the jungle too. Their sensors couldn't penetrate the thick canopy. "Contact ahead," whispered Sergeant Carlos Mendez. 2 aliens, maybe 3. Fisher could see the blue glow of alien armor through the trees. The creatures were cutting down forest with their energy weapons, trying to clear a path. They moved slowly and methodically like machines. "Take them quiet," Fisher ordered. His team had learned to fight the aliens up close. Their armor was nearly invincible, but the joints were vulnerable. A knife in the right place could disable the energy shields. It was dangerous work, but it was the only way to kill them silently. Dr. Kevin Park was monitoring the mission from his command post in the Colorado bunker. His computer showed the locations of all 12 teams. Some were ahead of schedule. Others were falling behind. The timing had to be perfect or the cascade effect wouldn't work. "Team 7 is running late," Park reported to General Davis. "They're pinned down by heavy alien resistance." Team 7 was Lieutenant Kate Williams and her soldiers in the mountains of Tibet. They had been fighting alien patrols for 6 hours. The creatures seemed to know something was happening. Their usual patrols had been replaced by search and destroy missions. "We're taking heavy fire," Williams reported over the radio. They have us surrounded? Amy Chen was coordinating communications from her post in the Chicago tunnels. She could hear the desperation in Williams' voice. Team 7 was critical to the mission. If they failed to reach their target, the entire plan would collapse. "Kate, you need to move now," Chun said into her radio. "The countdown has started." Williams looked at her remaining soldiers. Half her team was dead. The nuclear device was damaged but still functional. She made a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her short life. "Leave the device with me," she told her surviving soldiers. "Get out of here. I'll trigger it manually." In Australia, Team 3 had reached their target in the middle of the outback. The red earth stretched for miles in every direction. It was the perfect place to detonate a nuclear weapon without killing civilians. There were no civilians left. To kill, Captain Steve Murphy armed the nuclear device and set the timer. "Colorado, this is Team 3, we're armed and ready." One by one, the teams reached their targets. The nuclear weapons were old models from the Cold War, but they were still powerful enough to crack the Earth's crust. Each device was positioned at a specific point where the planet's magnetic field lines intersected. Julie Adams was still flying her alien fighter over major cities, drawing the attention of the alien fleet. The ship was falling apart around her, but it was still flying. She had managed to destroy 3 alien fighters with their own weapons technology. "All teams, this is Adams. The aliens are getting suspicious. They're pulling back their patrols. Whatever you're going to do it now." Park was watching his computers with growing excitement. The first detonation was 30 seconds away. Team 1 in the Australian outback was ready. The nuclear device would send a shockwave through the Earth's core and out into space. "Detonation in 10 seconds, Park announced to all teams. The first nuclear explosion lit up the Australian sky like a second sun. The shockwave raced through the Earth's crust and into the planet's core. The magnetic field lines carried the energy around the globe in milliseconds. "First pulse detected," Park shouted. "The magnetic field is responding. Team 2, you're next." The second explosion came from the Amazon rainforest. Colonel Fisher had reached his target just in time. The nuclear device vaporized acres of jungle, but it also sent another pulse through the magnetic field. One by one, the nuclear weapons detonated around the globe. Each explosion added to the growing electromagnetic storm that was building around the planet. The alien ships in orbit began to flicker as their systems were overwhelmed. Lieutenant Williams triggered her device in the mountains of Tibet. The explosion was the last thing she ever saw, but it completed the chain reaction that Park had calculated. The final detonation came from Sergeant Torres in Los Angeles. His team had fought their way through an army of aliens to reach the target. The nuclear explosion turned the city center into a crater, but it also completed the electromagnetic pulse that would save humanity for 17 minutes. The Earth's magnetic field became a weapon. The pulse raced outward from the planet like an invisible wave of destruction. Every alien ship within 1,000 miles of Earth was caught in the electromagnetic storm. The ships that had seemed invincible began falling from the sky like dying birds. Their energy shields failed. Their weapons went dark. Their engines stopped working. 8,000 alien ships crashed to Earth in 17 minutes. The remaining 2,000 ships that survived the pulse were trying to flee the solar system, but they were damaged and slow, and humanity was not finished with them yet. The electromagnetic pulse finally ended after 17 minutes that changed everything. 8,000 alien ships lay scattered across Earth like broken toys. Some had crashed into oceans, others into mountains and cities. The massive vessels that had once blocked out the sun were now smoking. Wreckage on the ground, but 2,000 alien ships had survived the pulse. Their systems were damaged but still working. They were trying to escape Earth's orbit and flee back to their home system. Captain Ryan Hayes was not going to let that happen. Hayes climbed into one of the crashed alien fighters that his engineering team had repaired. The ship's controls were strange, but he had learned to fly it by watching how the aliens moved their hands. The vessel responded to thought patterns as much as physical touch. "All pilots, this is Hayes. We have maybe 50 working alien ships. That's 50 against 2,000. I like those odds. Behind him, Julie Adams was still flying her damaged alien fighter. The ship was held together with spare parts and determination, but it was still flying. She had become the best human pilot of alien technology through 3 weeks of desperate practice. "Ryan, their ships are damaged. We might actually have a chance," Adams said over the radio. The human pilots who had survived the invasion climbed into the captured alien fighters. These were not the sleek jets they had trained in. These ships were powered by miniature black holes and controlled by brainwaves. But they were the only weapons humans had that could reach the fleeing aliens. Dr. Kevin Park was monitoring the battle from his bunker in Colorado. His computers showed the alien ships trying to reach escape velocity, but their damaged systems were making them slow and clumsy. "The electromagnetic pulse hurt them more than we thought," Park reported. "Their navigation systems are failing. They're flying blind." General Paul Davis was coordinating the human response from his command center. The nuclear explosions had destroyed most of Earth's communications, but enough systems remained to track the alien ships. "All human fighters, this is Davis. The aliens are trying to reach the asteroid belt. Don't let a single one of them escape. If even one ship gets away, they'll bring back reinforcements." The chase began near Earth's moon. 50 human-piloted alien fighters pursued 2,000 damaged alien vessels. The humans had learned to modify the alien weapon systems to work with human reflexes. They were no longer fighting with inferior technology. Hayes fired his first shot at an alien ship trying to escape toward Mars. The energy beam cut through the vessel's damaged shields and tore it apart. "One down, 1,999 to go. Their shields are weak," Hayes reported. "The electromagnetic pulse damaged their defensive systems. We can hurt them now." The human pilots spread out in attack formation. They had learned alien combat tactics by fighting for their lives for 3 weeks. Now they were using those same tactics against their former masters. Adams dove her fighter through a group of fleeing alien ships, firing rapidly. Her weapons found their targets again and again. The aliens were trying to return fire, but their damaged systems made them slow to respond. "This is for every human they killed," Adams said as she destroyed another alien ship. The battle spread across the inner solar system. Human pilots chased alien ships through the asteroid belt using the floating rocks as cover. The aliens had superior numbers, but they were injured and desperate. Captain Steve Murphy had survived the nuclear explosion in Australia and made his way to a crashed alien ship. He managed to get it flying just in time to join the pursuit. His voice crackled over the radio as he engaged the enemy. "Target-rich environment out here. These aliens picked the wrong planet to mess with." Maria Lopez was flying an alien ship she had learned to pilot by studying the control systems. Her NASA training helped her understand the 3-dimensional combat that was happening in zero gravity. "Their formation is breaking apart," she reported. "They're panicking. Keep the pressure on them." The alien ships tried to make a stand near Mars. They formed a defensive circle and began firing back at the human pilots. But their weapons were operating at half power. The electromagnetic pulse had damaged their energy systems permanently. Hayes led a group of 20 human fighters in a direct assault on the alien formation. The humans flew their captured ships like they had been born in them. 3 weeks of fighting for survival had taught them skills that peacetime training never could. "Break through their center," Hayes ordered. "Don't give them time to reorganize." The human pilots tore through the alien formation like a knife through paper. Alien ships exploded in bright flashes against the black of space. The creatures that had seemed invincible were now running for their lives. Dr. Lisa Grant was monitoring the battle from her bunker near Washington, D.C. She was analyzing data from the alien ships that the humans had captured. What she found amazed her. "The aliens have never faced resistance like this," she reported. "Their combat records show they've conquered dozens of worlds, but they always relied on overwhelming technological superiority. They've never fought an enemy that could adapt their own technology against them." The final battle took place in the shadow of Mars. The last 500 alien ships made their final stand. They knew they could not escape. They knew they could not win, but they fought anyway. The humans showed no mercy. Every alien ship was destroyed. Not a single vessel escaped to carry word back to the Zephyrian Collective. The invasion fleet that had conquered dozens of worlds was completely wiped out. Hayes floated in his alien fighter among the wreckage of the enemy fleet. Around him, the other human pilots were checking in. They had won, but the cost had been enormous. This is Hayes to all units. Enemy fleet destroyed. No survivors. Earth is free. Back on Earth, the survivors emerged from their hiding places to see a sky without alien ships for the first time in weeks. The cities were in ruins, but humanity had survived. More than that, they had won. Admiral Jack Morrison stood in the ruins of the Pentagon, looking up at the clear sky. President Helen Brooks stood beside him, both of them amazed that they were still alive. "They thought we were primitive," Morrison said. "They thought we would surrender without a fight." Dr. Grant was already studying the crashed alien ships scattered across the planet. The technology they contained would advance human science by centuries. Earth would rebuild, but it would rebuild stronger. The galaxy would soon learn that Earth was not just another world to be conquered. It was the home of a species that could turn their own planet into a weapon. Humanity would never again face extinction quietly. The war was over. The humans had won.